A pregnant German Shepherd was moments away from being put down. Staff believed no one would want her, until a stranger noticed her old collar. What he discovered in those faded words changed everything, and left everyone in tears. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. In 2019, the small-town shelter in Ohio was bursting at the seams. Every kennel was full, the air heavy with the scent of disinfectant and the sound of restless paws scratching against metal bars. Volunteers moved quickly between cages, their faces weary from the endless stream of abandoned dogs. Among them sat a German Shepherd, her belly swollen with the weight of unborn life. She lay quietly in the corner, her eyes tired but gentle, as if she had already accepted her fate. Each time footsteps passed, her ears perked up with a flicker of hope, only to sink back in disappointment. The staff whispered about her future. No one wants a pregnant dog, one sighed, shuffling through paperwork. The decision was made. Tomorrow, she would be put down. Time was running out. For her, and for the tiny hearts beating inside her, the clock was mercilessly ticking. That night, the shelter grew quiet. Most of the dogs had curled into uneasy sleep, but the German Shepherd stayed awake, shifting uncomfortably on the thin blanket beneath her. Her heavy belly pressed into the cold floor, each breath slow and labored. The fluorescent lights above flickered, casting a pale glow over her weary face. She could sense something the others could not, the stillness that came before an ending. Each time the door creaked open, her heart leapt, hoping for a miracle. But it was only the staff making rounds, their voices low, their expressions unreadable. "She doesn't stand a chance," one whispered, tapping a clipboard. "We can't afford to keep her any longer." Another nodded grimly. The shepherd pressed her nose to the bars, her amber eyes searching desperately for kindness. But none came. To her, it felt like the world had turned its back. And with every passing hour, hope slipped further away. The next morning, as the shelter doors opened to visitors, a tall man stepped inside. His name was Daniel, a quiet soul who often searched for animals others had overlooked. He walked slowly down the rows of kennels, pausing at each cage. Dozens of dogs barked and wagged their tails, each desperate for his attention. But it was the German Shepherd who caught his eye. She didn't leap or bark like the others. Instead, she sat silently, her swollen belly proof of the burden she carried. Her eyes met his, and for a moment, he felt something stir deep within him, an unspoken plea. A staff member noticed him lingering and approached quickly. "She's pregnant," the woman said bluntly. "Hardly anyone wants that kind of responsibility." Her tone carried more warning than invitation. Daniel hesitated, his brows furrowing. He wasn't sure he was ready for such a challenge. Still, he couldn't look away from those sorrowful eyes. Daniel's heart pulled in two directions. Part of him wanted to reach for the papers, to give this dog a chance. Yet another part whispered of sleepless nights, medical bills, and the overwhelming task of caring for a mother and her unborn litter. He exhaled heavily, stepping back from the kennel bars. Behind him, a staff member quietly began gathering the euthanasia forms. The sound of shuffling paper echoed like a countdown in Daniel's mind. He turned to leave, convincing himself it was for the best. But then it happened. The German Shepherd slowly rose, her legs trembling under her weight. She stepped closer, pressing her paw through the narrow bars. Her eyes locked onto his, silent and pleading. Daniel froze. That single gesture shattered his resolve, making it impossible to walk away. Daniel knelt down, unable to ignore the silent plea in her eyes. As he reached through the bars, his fingers brushed against the rough fur around her neck. That's when he felt it, something hard, hidden beneath her thick coat. He leaned closer and gently moved the fur aside. There it was, a worn leather collar, its buckle tarnished with age. At first, it looked ordinary, but then Daniel noticed faint engravings etched into the metal plate. Squinting, he wiped away years of dirt and grime. Slowly, the words revealed themselves. A name, an address, and then, beneath it, one haunting sentence. Please don't give up on me. Daniel's chest tightened as he read the message. Aloud, the room fell silent. Even the staff member, still clutching the paperwork, stood frozen. The shepherd pressed her head against the bars, eyes glistening as if she understood the words herself. In that moment, Daniel realized this was no ordinary dog. She was carrying not just life inside her, but a story that was begging to be saved. Daniel rose to his feet, his voice sharp with disbelief. Why didn't anyone check her collar? He demanded. The staff exchanged uneasy glances, their silence heavy. Finally, one muttered, "We're overcrowded. Sometimes things get missed." Missed? Daniel's jaw clenched. That single sentence on her collar, "Please don't give up on me," echoed in his mind like a plea from the dog herself. He looked back at her, trembling, her eyes locked on him with fragile hope. The paperwork in the staff member's hands suddenly felt like a death sentence, and Daniel knew he couldn't let it stand. "Stop," he said firmly. "She's coming with me." The staff stared in surprise. Few people chose pregnant dogs. Even fewer did so without hesitation. But Daniel didn't waver. In that moment, he wasn't just saving a dog. He was protecting a promise written long ago on a forgotten collar. The shelter erupted into movement. Papers were hurriedly shuffled, signatures scratched out, and forms reversed. What had been moments away from an ending now became a desperate race to save a life. Daniel signed the adoption release with steady hands, though his heart hammered in his chest. A staff member unlocked the kennel, and the heavy metal door creaked open. The German shepherd hesitated, then slowly stepped forward. Her swollen belly swayed with each cautious stride, her paws clicking softly on the concrete floor. For the first time in days, her tail gave the faintest wag. Other workers watched silently, some biting their lips, others blinking away tears. They had seen countless animals leave the shelter, but this felt different, like they were witnessing a miracle. Daniel bent down and whispered, "You're safe now." The shepherd pressed her head into his hand, and together they walked out, away from death and into the fragile promise of tomorrow. Daniel's small house had never felt so alive. He laid down blankets in the corner of his living room, creating a soft nest where the shepherd could rest. Bowls of water and food were placed nearby, though she barely touched them. Her amber eyes followed his every movement, cautious but trusting. That night, the storm outside rattled the windows, but inside, Daniel stayed close. The shepherd shifted uneasily, circling the blankets before lying down, her breathing uneven. She let out soft whimpers, and Daniel knelt beside her, stroking her fur gently. "It's okay," he whispered. "You're safe now." Hours stretched long. Daniel fought sleep, afraid she might need him at any moment. Each time her body tensed, his chest tightened with worry. Something was coming. He could feel it. She wasn't just restless. Nature was calling. The pups inside her were ready to meet the world, and Daniel vowed he wouldn't leave her side. Just past midnight, it began. The German shepherd let out a sharp cry, her body trembling as the first contraction rippled through her. Daniel's heart pounded as he rushed to her side, his hands shaking though he tried to stay calm. He had never witnessed something like this before, yet instinct told him not to leave. She pressed her head into his lap, seeking comfort. "You're strong," Daniel whispered, brushing her ears back gently. "You can do this." Minutes felt like hours until finally, the first tiny pup slipped into the world, squealing softly. Daniel carefully wrapped it in a towel, placing it near its mother. She licked it furiously, her instincts fierce and protective. Then came another and another. The night filled with the faint cries of newborn life. By dawn, 7 fragile puppies lay nestled against their exhausted mother. Daniel wiped his eyes, overwhelmed. He had come to save one life, yet now 8 lives lay breathing before him. It was nothing short of a miracle. By morning, Daniel sat on the floor beside the German shepherd, exhaustion written on his face but joy shining in his eyes. The mother rested peacefully, her 7 pups squirming against her belly, tiny squeaks filling the quiet room. Daniel reached out and gently stroked her head. "You kept your promise," he murmured, "and I'll keep mine." A few days later, he called the shelter to give them the news. When the staff heard that not only had she survived, but brought 7 healthy puppies into the world, many of them cried. Word spread quickly, and soon, the story of the dog with the collar message began to circulate online. Neighbors came forward to offer blankets, food, and supplies. Strangers sent letters, thanking Daniel for listening to what others had ignored. The phrase engraved on her collar, "Please don't give up on me," became a symbol of hope for countless people who had nearly lost faith. One evening, as Daniel watched the shepherd curl protectively around her pups, he whispered softly, "No, one will ever give up on you again." She lifted her head, eyes warm and grateful, as if she understood every word. It was more than a rescue. It was a second chance at life.